Yo, what the hell? I'll put the W on mine.
Dang, man.
Big W.
Listen,
My first W.
I'm glad you got your first W. I'm pissed it's against me.
It makes me feel better. I'm sorry that it had to be at your hands, but
Yeah, it happens.
it happens.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Ready for the show. Ready for this episode 5 recap. Week 5. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Welcome.
Couple things to note from the weekend. Down goes Drizzy. Drake is no longer. Yep, Drake also took an L at the hands of Damon. Damon put up a lot of points, so Drake didn't have the best of games, but even if he did, it still would have been tough.
It would have been real tough.
What
170? Yeah, 174.
Yeah, that's
tough to beat.
A lot of points. Colts defeated the Broncos in what I called a horse race to 12.
Love that.
I told my brother before the game started, and I was dead serious. I said I'm seeing like 18 to 12 maybe, and it wasn't that far off.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I really thought the Broncos would score at least a couple TDs.
Yeah, I kind of did too, but no dice.
Nope.
Eagles are still undefeated. They went to 5-0 after they beat the Cardinals. They're really good, man. They're gonna be tough to beat.
They are. They're good.
Josh Allen's still good. That's a thing. That's for real.
Yep.
He's averaging like 30 points this year.
Yeah. I was looking at that earlier. It's nuts.
And then I got to 1-4. That's news. It's not really it's not huge news, but just I'm not winless anymore. So
well, I mean, we went from having one undefeated team and one winless team both get the first win, first loss. Same
yeah.
thing, so.
Yeah, it evened it out pretty well.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the winners here of the week. Like we said, I got the win over you, 124 to 118. It was a close game. We'll get into that a little bit more. Catalina Wine Mixon defeating the Florida Sunshines, 154 to 114.
Yep.
The Goats beating Logan's Mom for Logan's Mom's first loss of the season, 174 to 115.
Hey, pull that the screen up.
Oh yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. I was waiting on you to add it up there, and then I started looking down at my notes.
Snuck it in.
Where was? Oh yeah, Damon. I was talking about the Goats beating Logan's Mom, 174 to 115, and then Alave another. That one's tough to say, but it's a good name. Defeated Mommy Chasers, 172 to 152. That was a high scoring game. Kind of.
Yes.
It was fun watching Pat Mahomes throw it to Travis Kelce. I kind of wish that game was a little bit closer, so we could have seen that.
No, I mean, they would have just kept going, the two of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just saying, I wish Devin Roberts' game was closer going into that game.
Oh, I got you.
It was hard to see Travis Kelce being able to score more points or being able to score a ton more points. And I think he was down 20 or 25 at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I saw a tweet and said, "There's somebody out there who said, I just need Travis Kelce to score 4 touchdowns tonight and I can win."
And it happened.
It happened.
That was pretty crazy. Nothing really big though. Yeah, like we said, Damon upsetting Drake. I think that you had that. You had picked Damon over Drake, so it wasn't much of an upset to you. But
yeah.
Bad beats.
Some bad beats. Let me go back to the notes here. Oh yeah. The one we need to mention, JR's team here. Just this year, Stafford has sucked.
Oh, we'll get to that on the worst starts. The bad beats are
the close games.
Yeah,
I
had you down for a bad beat. Losing by 6 points, and T. Higgins didn't score anything. He left with an ankle injury.
Yeah, I mean, he had an ankle injury going into it, and they were supposed to test it, and then they said he was playing,
Uh-huh.
and then he didn't play.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funky.
Yeah, that one really pissed me off. But so I could have. I mean, I had several people I could have slid in there had I known he wasn't going to play. So yeah, definitely. The rest of them were pretty lopsided. I didn't see anything too crazy. But yeah, ours was close. Going into that last game.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, it was. And Mark Andrews had a big day for me.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot. I thought I was done for early on in the day. It looked like you were about to score a lot of points, and I mean, T. Higgins going out obviously helped me, but
yeah.
A&J, plug and play of the week, guys. Anywhere near Morgan County, if you're looking for electrical work, call my buddy JR and his partner Austin to hook you up. Plug and play of the week, we got Tyler Lockett from Mario starting him. He scored 27.4 points. He's becoming a guy that is probably going to need to be started every week, but Mario's got some dudes that he also could have thrown in there, and I think he obviously made a good decision there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think he had he had Antonio Gibson on his bench that he has been starting. Not necessarily saying that he needed to start, but he also had Terry McLaurin out there that he chose to start Tyler Lockett over. So nice job, Mario.
Oh yeah.
Worst starts. All right, go off, King.
Well, yeah, we're already here, I guess. Yeah, Matt Stafford has sucked, man. And that's why I was happy to get rid of him. I know Trevor Lawrence has also sucked this year, but man, it's just been a letdown. If you have Stafford, you just expect a certain amount of points, and he's just not doing it. But who is doing it this year? Carson Wentz, man. He's putting up numbers every week, and they're throwing the ball a ton. So I mean, I think it's a bad start having Stafford over Wentz. Just it's a lot of points sitting on your bench. So,
yep, I thought that was a bad start as well. I had to dig around for it, but you'd mentioned it, and I happen to agree with it. And then, I also think that me starting Russell Wilson over Geno was a bad start.
Yeah,
I do think that. I know what I was doing. I know what I was going off of and everything, but it was bad. It just was not good. I don't know why I did it. That was stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think it's one of those things where we're hitting a point where we don't want to admit that these quarterbacks are getting older and they're going to be out of the league soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. It's just there's those guys you hold on to. Like I remember freaking Tony Romo used to be so good for me in fantasy. And then at the end of his career, I was still trying to play him like, oh, I can still get some points out of Tony Romo. Yeah. And like it just didn't happen. I feel that we're getting close to that with Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I wonder if I mean it's a little too late to do this, but maybe I should have tried to trade Russell Wilson for like Dak Prescott or something and just try to get the upside out of that or something whenever he came back. But it's a little too late now. I think Robert's probably considering he knows he's coming back soon. So
yeah.
And I don't think Russell Wilson is tradable.
I mean, I would consider it just because I have Trevor Lawrence. Like it would be even to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really consider either one of those guys tradable right now, but
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if we were trying other players and you just really wanted to get rid of him,
yeah,
just to have him off your team because he's too good to cut, right? Like he has the potential that we all know.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't just throw him to. I mean, he'll get picked up the same day, after waivers, but yeah. You can't drop him.
Power rankings. You wanna go through yours first?
Yeah, let me here I'll pull it up here. Let's go through the standings. But I've got Drake at number 1, JR at number 2, Mario at number 3, Damon at 4, those two were really close, I'll say. I almost flip-flopped that. But then Devin, Sean, Logan, Robert.
Okay. So here's mine. Mine is way different than yours. And this is the first time we've had like big differences. I've got the GOATs at number 1. And then I've got, what was it? Let me see it again. Yeah, I got Logan's mom at 2, so Drake at 2. Alave Another at 3. Catalina Wine Mixon at 4. And then I've got Florida Sunshines at 5. You at Scary Pits at 6. And then I've got Robert, Mommy Chasers at 7, and me still Wilson at 8. So I've got Damon at 1, and you've got him back at 4.
Yep.
Where did you have him at last week? Do you remember that by chance?
I think it was 3 or 4.
I can tell you.
It may have been. Yeah, I think it might have been right at 4 still.
Okay, so yeah, I mean the other thing I got I almost put Devin. So Alave Another at 2. He's had a bunch of big performances out of his quarterbacks, and honestly, I mean the quarterbacks are killing it right now in fantasy. So it's hard to beat him when his quarterbacks put up 30+ points each. You know,
Right.
it makes it easy for him to lose in other places. You know. But then yeah, I left Drake there though. His team's really good. It's really stacked. I think he just had an off week too. So that was the only big difference. I guess I just wanted to ask about that Damon. What's your reasoning for having Damon at 4?
No, it was just when I was looking through it. Like, I know that there's been a lot of points, but again, with the age of quarterbacks and just play so far this year, they're just not doing a lot that you would expect. So they're underperforming. I think that they'll both probably turn it around a little bit, but we'll see. And it was just the health of Eckler and Cook, just because they've missed some time already. Maybe Eckler hasn't yet. Maybe I read that wrong now that I'm thinking about it. But it's just one of those things where there's really any given game, one of those guys goes down and the whole team's different. I just think it's more fragile.
Austin Eckler is. We'll talk about this a little bit in a while too, but he's having a heck of a year. It's not too surprising, but he is. I think he's number 1 in running backs right now.
Yep. New segment alert.
Yeah, we'll get to that for sure. Another thing that I liked about Damon's team, he's got Dalvin Cook, and Devin has been talking about this too, and I tend to agree with Devin on it. The Vikings are going to run Dalvin Cook into the ground all year long, and then get rid of him. So I don't care like if it beats him up or not, you know. So I think that bodes well for Damon.
Yeah, no, that does make sense.
And he's got a top 5 tight end too in Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, tight ends have been real hit or miss this year though. Like if you don't have Mark Andrews or Kelsey, the rest it's like they're so close after that.
I guess that's why I just think having another guy that's in the top 5 might be important, just because they're
for sure.
Those top 2, that gap from 2 to 3 is huge. But if you can get a guy that's scoring you 10 points even from that tight end position, it's big.
It is right now for sure.
All right, we'll do waiver ads, notable injuries actually here, and then we'll get to the new segment. So a couple of notable injuries that we got. T. Higgins, obviously, with that ankle. What's the update on him? Do you have any?
No. So I was looking at I was reading about him and Jonathan Taylor just earlier, and there wasn't really much of anything. Like there's this little video and whatnot, but that was it. But there wasn't any.
I've never watched those videos. When it's a video, I'm like, I guess I'm just not getting an update.
Oh, that's how I am too. For sure. But yeah, so reading about Jonathan Taylor. Like, he jogged on the sidelines. He was at practice, but not doing much. So it's still up in the air. He's got a couple more chances this week to find out if he's going to play. But I think even with him jogging on the sideline on a Wednesday, I think it's good news. It's definitely not as severe as some had feared if he's already jogging and out there with pads on.
Yeah, it's probably not a high ankle sprain.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of frustrating. I guess it was Tuesday, and that's usually teams' days off, I think. But, like, Reich didn't give any update on him. Like, no, I don't have any update. How do you have no update? What do you mean?
Right.
Give me something.
You got to know something.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. That just kind of bothered me a little bit. It would bother me, I guess, more if I had Jonathan Taylor, but because it just seems like you're hiding something, like, or it's a little more extreme than what you're trying to perceive it to be. But I don't know. Like you said, if he's jogging today, that does help. That's good.
Yeah.
Rashad Penny out for the year. He had a pretty bad ankle injury.
That looked bad.
Yeah, that looked pretty nasty. And I think he was about to pop off too. He had a good week last week. He's going to start getting a lot of carries. Kenneth Walker, Bob does have him on his bench. I think that he's a good add. He didn't add him. He actually drafted him.
He did.
But that all of a sudden has just turned into a possible boom of a draft pick.
For sure. Yeah.
That he got pretty late too.
Yeah.
And he held on to him. Credit to him for that.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, not really notable, but he's going to miss 2 to 6 weeks. Damian Harris, this is what's really good for Bob.
Another good Bob pick.
Yeah,
Bob
man.
Injury.
Yeah, Bob's on the up and up right now. He had both Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. So that just means more work for Ramondre Stevenson. Another reason that's big is, with Damian Harris going down, Rashad Penny also going down, and like we had just mentioned, Rob's got Kenneth Walker. So it's kind of like all the stars aligned for Robert right there from that draft pick. Somebody wanted Robert to start Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
Not that he has to do it right away or anything, but it's that kind of helped him.
But I would.
I think I would too. I mean, the Seahawks, they're scoring a lot of points in that game that they're in this week. I think with the Cardinals is a pretty high over/under. So,
I mean, in my lineup, if I had Kenneth Walker on my bench right now, I would put him at my running back instead of Jonathan Taylor. Taylor in my flex, just in case.
You should trade Jonathan Taylor for Kenneth Walker.
I think I'd need a little bit more.
Bob would like that.
I think you would, but you see who my new tight end is?
Did you send them the link by chance?
Oh, no. My bad.
Anyway, who's your new tight end?
Right there.
Oh, yes, I did, actually. I saw that you picked him up. I had a waiver claim in for him yesterday, and I ended up taking it off. I just had a couple other guys that I wanted to claim and other guys I had to drop, but I think that's a good pickup. I really do.
Because if it looked like they may go to him more.
Yes.
On let me grab our live video here. Yeah, they're gonna
I really do.
grab him more, and then he'll be able to flex into a QB/tight end, so I can play him in either one.
I'm wondering if they'll ever let that happen again. Like,
if he starts at quarterback, I think they have to.
You don't think that they'll just take that off and put him at just a quarterback? You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if he's going to be out of quarterback, yeah, he'll be out of quarterback. And I would be more than okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? Because in that, he's just a fantasy fucking stud.
Right.
He scores a lot of touchdowns when he's the starter.
I'll
take it all day.
He was he scored 3 touchdowns and threw for another. So anytime your tight end is going to throw the ball, that helps. And he runs the ball too.
Yeah.
So I think that helped your team a lot because I think tight end was something that you were looking for, especially with Freiermuth going down.
Yep. Yeah, I was watching that game, and yeah, that was tough to watch. And then they used their other tight ends a lot during that game. And I'm just like, man, he was about to pop off for a good game.
Dang.
But yeah.
Another one, James Conner. The news on him is kind of like Jonathan Taylor. There's not really an update on him. They're not really saying much. They said that he looks okay. They were just being really cautious. But it is a rib injury for a running back. I think that'd be pretty difficult. Devin did pick up. He added Benjamin, who was someone who I wanted to add through waiver, but I was dropping somebody else and I ended up getting someone else from it. But he did pick up Benjamin, and I think that's going to end up being a decent pickup, especially if James Conner doesn't start. And even if he does, I think gets the goal line work because they're not going to want to run James Conner into the game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Teddy Bridgewater, concussion. I would not want to be a Dolphins quarterback right now.
Not only not a Dolphins quarterback right now, I mean, it just sucks for Teddy Bridgewater. Every time he's got a shot, he gets hurt.
Yeah, yep. And then Chris Olave, he had a concussion too. That one looked pretty bad. I don't know if you saw it, but
I did. That was real bad. And I really like that dude.
Yeah, they called it a touchdown too. I think on that play where he had got that concussion. But I don't know. I don't think he ends up playing this week. Just with the way the concussions are kind of being treated right now and the way that looked bad. But
yep.
I mean, as far as what I've heard, he's doing okay. He feels good. So that's a plus. But I just think that they're
going to be really cautious just with the nature of the league.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't blame him, man. I mean, like we said last week, we're not doctors or anything like that, but I think they ought to just implement a thing where just to take out all these like gray areas for people and for the players and everything. Like if you get a concussion and it's an obvious concussion like that, you're out next week. So like we'll start everything up next Monday and you're probably going to be fine, but let's try to limit this to where you're not playing back-to-back weeks with where you just had a concussion
right
4 to 6 days ago or whatever, 4 to 7 days ago.
For sure. And I think that fans are starting to come around on that too. Because everyone before was like, oh, all these rules, it's making them wimps. Like, it's not football anymore. And now fans are kind of like, all right, these guys are human beings. Like, like they've got families. We don't want them to be 40 years old and feeling like they're 80 and, brain damage and all the other things that are happening to the older players.
Yeah. Dalton Schultz was another injury too that I wanted to mention. I think he hasn't been really getting that too much work from Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush just does not throw him the ball. But with Dak possibly coming back, I think you mentioned this last week, but with Dak coming back, that could be an injury. Worth noting, just in case maybe somebody wants to pick up his backup tight end, because I don't think Dak's going to stop throwing to the tight end, but
probably more
something to monitor too to see if Schultz is even going to be out for that long. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pumped for Dak to be back.
The Dak attack is back.
The Dak attack is back.
Jack, did you see any other notable pickups? I know I got ETN. That was kind of just as a insurance policy thing, and then I also got Rondale Moore. I think they're just going to have a big game this week, but.
Let's see, were there more?
There weren't too many. I think you, me, and Drake were the only, and Devin obviously with an added, but
yeah. Yeah, that was it. This seems. Why did you do that? Why did you drop Josh Reynolds and grab Rondale Moore?
Josh Reynolds is on a bye this week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's enough.
And I think that Rondale. I think that the Seahawks and Cardinals is going to be a high scoring game. And I want to
start him.
Yeah, he's in my flex right now.
Nice.
I want a little piece of that game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking of, like, in not to jump the gun on DFS, but sometimes you play a guy because you think he's gonna have a really good chance. Like last week, I played Tyler Lockett in
Mm-hmm.
all of my lineups. Like everything lined up. So I feel
I
like
had Brees Hall in all mine,
yep.
and I had Damian Pierce in the other ones. So I didn't really do very well. I didn't do bad, but I won $5. I bet
Nice.
5 and I won 5. It was one of those double up like 50-50 ones. So I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
For me anyway. That's how I found this year.
Yep. I'll probably start doing that a little bit more. But I have been just doing the tournaments. I just like taking the swing for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, but I probably should do some more 50-50s. But yeah, I in the league that performed the best, I mean, I had Tyler Lockett, Jeff Wilson, and Nick Chubb, all who scored a ton of points, and Ramondre Stevenson.
Nice.
And then everyone else, like Devontae Parker, did nothing. Hawkinson did nothing. Goff did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that Goff one killed me, and most
Yeah.
of them started him in all three of mine. So here's the
segment alert.
New segment alert. This one we're calling Who's Who. It's the top 5 in each positions. We'll just kind of go through them weekly, talk about if there's any big surprises, just so everybody kind of knows who's the big guys. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Obviously, number 1, sticking with Josh Allen. He's really not done anything wrong this year. Do you think that's a surprise that he's the number 1?
And I don't think it's a surprise at all.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
There we go. Let me bring something up real quick. And these are two. I made sure while I was going through these. These are as you guys can see them scrolling across the bottom too. These are the rankings of the position rankings 1 through 5. And then in the little parentheses there, you see the average points per game that they score. Just because somebody is a top 5 in a position does not mean that they are top 5 in average points per game due to injuries and such. The reason I say that is, if Taysom Hill, for instance, whenever you look at pure average on tight ends and you look at the average statistic, Taysom Hill is 3rd in tight ends, averaging 14 points per game. I believe he missed the game. Isn't that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So
the early
smaller sample size. He's actually the 7th overall tight end, but 3rd ranked in average per points. So these are ranked down underneath as position rankings, and then it just shows you their average points per game. Just wanted to point that out.
Cool.
One thing that you wanted to mention, go ahead about the quarterback, Sean.
Oh, yeah. So just one thing I would say, the one kind of surprise in the top 5, before we get to the hero of the year of Geno Smith, honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
The dog pound honorable mention of the day. Geno, man, he's put up numbers, but it's just when you look at all the stats and you see Jalen Hurts is 3rd and he's only thrown 4 touchdowns, it's like, how is this possible? And then you keep scrolling over on your phone, you're like, 6 rushing touchdowns already. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, what is this dude going to do this year? Like, he's going to score 10 plus rushing touchdowns and throw probably 15 or 20.
I guarantee. Yeah. I bet he throws 20 and rushes for 10. Like that'll be the baseline.
Yeah.
I think because eventually they'll start. I think they'll have to start throwing the ball a little bit in those situations where he's running it, but it'll just turn into passing touchdowns for him instead of rushing. So.
Yep. Yeah. He's a beast, man.
So yeah, Geno at 6. He almost cracked our top 5. All right, he almost got into the who's who, but we did want to definitely mention Geno there.
And big shout out to Pete Carroll, showing that it's his system that works. It wasn't Russell Wilson.
Ouch. I can feel the ricochet coming off of that. Running backs. And Austin Eckler, yes, he is number one. He's got the highest average, and he is the number one position rank. Nick Chubb at 2, Barkley 3, Josh Jacobs, I think, is a big surprise at 4.
Yeah. I mean, coming into the year, I thought that they were going to split a lot of carries in Las Vegas, and they're just not doing it. And he's, every time he touches the ball, man, he is fighting for yards.
Yeah.
It's just, can he stay healthy? Like, I hope so. It's fun to watch.
Me too. Yeah, I hope he can too. I want to see him have a big year where he rushes for 1,500 yards. I think that'd be fun to watch.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey at 5, not too surprising, but good for him. Coming off this couple of years of injuries. DeAndre Swift, and see, this is what I mean. It's huge to pay attention to that as the average. Yeah, the points per game for him are 16.9, but he's the 29th overall ranked running back. So,
dang.
Wide receivers, we got a lot of points out of wide receivers this year. I think you can go all the way down. Matter of fact, you can go all the way down to, you can just go down this list and they all average 15 points, the top 20, 30 guys are averaging 15 points a game. Top guys, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs averaging 26 and 23. Justin Jefferson also averaging 23. That was a big comeback for him after those couple of down weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude is just any time he can go off for 200. And I think Stephon Diggs can kind of do that, but I don't think Cooper Kupp can. I don't think Cooper Kupp goes off for 200 that often.
Right. Not this year.
Right. Yeah. Just because it's shorter, short. He can pop off for 2 or 3 touchdowns at any given point. But I don't think he's going to get you 200 yards and 3 touchdowns like Jefferson or a Diggs could.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill at 4, and then Devontae Adams at 5.
And I was one that I really did not think Devontae Adams was going to have a good year this year. Really? I didn't think they throw the ball deep enough, and they don't give their guys enough shot. But, maybe they didn't believe in Amari Cooper when he was here, and since then they haven't really had anybody that's been able to win on the outside. Like they've had Darren Waller, who's just a physical specimen, better than anyone on the field most of the time, in the middle of the field, and just more athletic. And so now they've got a guy like Devontae Adams, and it's awesome to watch. It's hard to root against the Raiders.
It really is. It's crazy that they're 1-4.
Yep.
And they've got Josh Jacobs in the top 5. These are fantasy numbers, mind you, but they got Josh Jacobs up there in the top 5 as well as Devontae Adams.
Yep.
So a very underperforming team as far as fantasy versus the real game goes, and the Raiders. Tight ends, nothing special whatsoever up at the top with Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. Travis Kelce is outscoring him on average by 4 points.
This says on here, you said Kelce's beating Andrews or the other way around?
Kelce's beating Andrews.
Okay, yeah.
I may have said it opposite. I didn't mean to if I did, but
no, I was reading the names as you were saying them, and I think I flip-flopped it.
Then you got Hawkinson at 3. He really picked it up. He didn't. You kind of called that out too a couple weeks ago, saying that you thought he was about ready to go. And then Zach Ertz at 4 and Dallas Goedert at 5. So it's about time that the Eagles broke those 2 up so they could spread some love around the league. They were always kind of both considered awesome tight ends, and I remember one time whenever I had Zach Ertz and everything just kept going to Goddard. I traded Ertz and then everything went to Ertz.
Yeah, for sure. So on yours, what you were looking at, did it show Taysom Hill on there?
Yeah, so Taysom Hill averages 14.72 points per game, good for third in average, seventh overall on tight ends.
Yeah, cool. He's got a good last name.
Yeah, you like him and Tyreek, huh?
Yeah, they're cousins with me.
We won't go over defenses. That's boring. So
defense. We'll show it.
Boo, boo. We actually talked about, I had mentioned to Sean, putting the Niners defense in as the A&J plug and play of the week just because it was a pickup and stream thing, but we decided that's not going to cut it. Defenses are streams every week anyway, for the most part. So I wanted to get more creative and pick someone else out. Again, Tyler Lockett for the A&J plug and play of the week.
For sure. Well deserved, Tyler.
Yes, nice job. All right. Let's get into some DFS. So we kind of talked about, we got into a little bit earlier and kind of said what we both did last week. For this week, I did want to mention that there are 2 games with over-unders that are over 50. The Buffalo and Kansas City game, I think that was 54, and the Arizona and Seattle game was at 51. Mm-hmm. And I think players from Buffalo are good. They had a wide receiver that filled in last week and ended up having 3 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Shaquille.
Yeah. It was Shakir something, right?
Shakir, yeah, I think that might be it. I wish I could remember his name, but that's somebody good to pick from that game. Kansas City, I don't unless you're going to pick Pat Mahomes as one of those chalk plays at quarterback or Travis Kelce as a chalk play at tight end. Maybe a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I just don't. I feel like trying to pick out whoever is going to do well for Kansas City is really hard to do if you're not taking one of those 3.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It would be real tough.
And then Arizona-Seattle, I really think that you can pick anybody from Arizona as far as it goes from Marquise Brown and Rondale Moore. I think that you could pick up, Benjamin. That could be a decent little start for you and maybe a good value at running back. And then Seattle, we all know what Seattle does. So,
and Geno Smith is still only 5,700.
Yep.
That's like a must play this week, DFS.
He is the only quarterback that I wrote down. I didn't even write down another quarterback.
There can't be another option with the amount of points they're scoring. That over under. Oh my gosh, dude. I
mean, you just almost have to do it. And he's probably, here's the thing though, too. He's probably going to be rostered in 60% of leagues.
Yeah, easily.
So if you're trying to go opposite of that, I didn't even look. I don't know what to tell you. That's the only one. I saw that and I just wrote his name down. So maybe go chalk and get Josh Allen because you're guaranteed 25 points. But
yeah. Like it's one of those weeks where I like Lamar Jackson any week, one of my favorite players to watch. But I mean, Giants defenses look good. So I mean, he's not even like a guaranteed play this week with his price. I mean, there really aren't a lot of other options unless you go chalk or Geno.
Yeah, I really think that's it too. I did notice there were 6 games with over-unders of under 45. So defense should be fairly easy to stream this week as far as DFS goes. There's going to be a lot of options there.
Mm-hmm. There's a strategy to pair your defense with one of your running backs. Because usually if there's, a low-scoring game or a defense is doing really well, the team's way up. I mean, they're going to run the ball.
They're going to run it. Okay. Yeah. I never really thought about that. So then with the 2 that I wanted to mention with the low over-unders, Rams and Panthers to fit that bill, you could go chalk and go Christian McCaffrey. Not that I think that they're going to win, but they throw it to him too, so that doesn't matter. And then you got the Jags and Colts as the next lowest at 42.5. It's hard to start either one of the Jags running backs right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start one of them just because I have a bunch of guys on bye. But it's reluctantly. And then the Colts, I'm not sure what they're saying about Naheem Hines right now.
Oh, I don't think he'll play this week.
Yeah. And then
he didn't even practice today.
Who was that Jackson cat from last week? He didn't look bad.
No, he didn't look bad at all. He played really well. When they gave him the ball, they were just they forgot how to run the ball, I think. But no, when he was in the game and touching the ball, he looked real good. He was trying to prove himself.
But yeah,
Deion Jackson, is that right?
So yeah, Jackson Colts. I like that one. If you want to pick one of the low over-unders for defenses, maybe choose one of those. I probably wouldn't pick the Panthers against the Rams. I'm guessing that over-under at 40 is Rams favored. I didn't see how much they were favored by, but I'm guessing it's probably by 5 or 6. So,
that's probably in there.
Defense for value plays, Saints are pretty low. They're playing the Bengals. Bengals haven't really done that much, and the Saints caused a lot of turnovers. So,
yeah, and I mean, Joe Burrow has thrown several interceptions. I think 6, and he's fumbled the ball a ton too. So, a lot of turnovers mixed with a defense that can get a lot of turnovers. That might be a real good play.
Mm-hmm. Did you see any running backs that you like?
I mean, it's hard to not like Kenneth Walker as well. I mean, I hate to jump on the Seattle bandwagon, but he's going to have the opportunities there. And it's, again, high over-under, so there's probably going to be some rushing touchdown goal line work that he can get.
What's his cost,
yeah, $5,400.
Okay. Yeah, that's –
so you have a quarterback and a running back at $5,700 and $5,400. Allows you to go out there.
Hopefully a high-scoring game too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll actually start putting this together.
Couple that I mentioned, Fournette. Kind of, if you want to go a little higher price on a running back, he's only $7,400 versus a couple of the higher-priced guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's $7,400, but you still got Jeff Wilson, who he finally got into the 6,000 range at 6,200, and you got Devin Singletary at 5,900. He's performing well. I know it doesn't feel good to play him, or doesn't feel sexy, but he's getting the points. So for that price, it might be worth it, and that's a high over/under game too. And then Raheem Mostert had a big game last week. He's $5,700.
Yeah, it's just, are they going to keep giving him the ball or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I'm going to guess that Teddy Bridgewater and Tua are out again.
Yeah, I mean
they were down. They were down the whole game last week.
Yeah, I mean, but even what's his name? Myles Gaskins had carries that game.
He did. Yeah, that was one of his first games being activated, wasn't it?
Yep.
This year.
And I mean,
wow, what a fantasy name that I completely forgot about. Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, I mean, he's helped win me some games, man. When he's got an opportunity, he shows up.
I think he's helped a lot of people win some games. He was a really good plug for a lot of people. People drafted him last year.
Yeah.
So, wide receivers, Tyler Lockett. Can anybody give me some Tyler Lockett?
Right. 5,600. Like, all these Seattle players are in the $5,000 range.
I know. Yeah. DK was down there. Yeah, but Tyler Lockett, that was when I saw his price, I was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer start.
Yep.
I like Rondell Moore in DFS. I think he's pretty cheap too.
He's 4,200. Yep.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Just mostly for the price, but
yeah, I mean, he caught 7 of 8 targets his second game back. So if you're going to get that many looks, it's worth playing in a high-scoring game.
Yeah. And then Jacoby Myers. I think he was pretty low too, but might be worth a little play in DFS.
Yeah, 5,300.
So that's something you could go low at wide receiver this week.
And then pay up for Kelsey. No, but they're playing Buffalo. Does that scare you away from Kelsey at all? Is he matchup proof?
He just said he only had 25 yards receiving last week. Did you know that?
I didn't even realize he had such few yards.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yes. I was starting.
Because, Buffalo's been really good against tight ends.
Mm-hmm. They have.
They look solid. But at the same time, like Kansas City is a team that could probably push the envelope on that defense. So, man.
I would. If you're going to be able to go chalk, I don't know why you wouldn't just go him or Andrews, either one.
Yeah, Andrews, he's $800 less.
And that could go a long way. But just
the way the roster is kind of constructed, though, let's see, where was like Wilson, who was Jacoby. So basically, it would leave 7,800 for your flex, which you could play Kelsey as well, or Jamar Chase, or Deebo Samuel.
I'd probably just play Kelsey.
Or Barkley.
Ooh.
Or Dalvin Cook, or Tyreek Hill.
I would probably just play Kelsey and Andrews.
Really?
Yeah. Just the way that he almost feels like he's just going to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
As far as Kelsey goes, he's going to have to.
This would be the team: Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker III, Jeff Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Jacoby Myers, Rondell Moore, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and the Saints D.
You could. Here's an idea. Just an idea. You could go Zach Ertz at tight end. Keep Kelsey in your flex, and then go higher somewhere else. And then you got a part of that. You got two guys. You're totally stacking that Arizona-Seattle game. Mm-hmm. So that's a different strategy now. But
yeah, let's see. So instead of like Jacoby, you can go up to. Instead of Jacoby, you could actually go get Marquise Brown.
Then you've got Rondell Moore, Zach Ertz, and Marquise Brown.
And then consider someone else other than Rondell Moore, or you just really stack those two games and have Jeff Wilson on an island.
Yeah, I don't know.
Here's the thing. When we use our human brains, we're going to talk ourselves out of something like that.
Sure.
We're not diversifying enough. Like Rondell Moore can't have 200 yards but that's not going to happen either. Anyway, neither one of them is going to have 200 yards. They're probably each going to have 80 to 90 yards, 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But in our minds, we're like, well, they can't both score a lot of points, but in a game like this, I think they probably can.
Yeah. It's worth a shot.
All right. But Mike Evans is right there, just under him in price.
I think the Bucs wide receivers are in for a good week this week too.
Same. And it diversifies a little bit.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis is down there too. You sick of Gabe Davis and him going off every time
I'm so sick of it, dude. I can't stand that shit anymore. I'm going to start him this week. Yeah, I'm going to. Not because of what he did last week, because I'm sorry, that doesn't impress me very much.
That don't impress me much. We need a soundboard with
we do
on here now.
But yeah, it just doesn't sure, big game, and then did awesome in that aspect, but you get 3 catches, and they were 2 of them were over 50 yards, and one of them was the second to the decimal largest fantasy play that you can score possible. So I don't give much clout to it, but I am going to start him just because it's one of those high over under games, and I think that maybe he does a little better. gets a 15-point game or something, like where he kind of settles into a floor.
I don't know if they're not going to take shots like that, though. I think that they have to. They just proved it to themselves. Like, hey, if we take enough of these long shots, we're going to hit on some. And
That's
Josh
true.
Allen's got a cannon.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen was the one who was saying that, like, that he looked really good in warmups, and he hadn't looked that fast this year until now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
That makes me feel better about that.
It may be like one of that Tom Brady, Randy Moss year. Hey, I'm open. Throw me a touchdown or don't throw me the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So what do you got? What you got right now?
All right. So landed with Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker III, Jeff Wilson, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, Rondell Moore, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, and the Saints.
Okay.
I'm locking it in.
Lock it up. That's our DFS fantasy name for this week.
Yep. Lock it up.
All right.
Man. All right.
We'll get to the pick twos. All right. So last week, Logan did defeat Sean from a score of 57.5 to 22.4. That makes the contest 2-2 on the year. I had Diggs and Kelce. Those two were phenomenal.
Yes, they were.
Just from Kelce from a touchdown standpoint, but Diggs was just everywhere. The Bills are just throwing the ball all over, kind of like you were just talking about. So Tyreek Hill was obviously a little handicap with Bridgewater going down. That was the guy he worked with all week long. They had a pretty good connection the week before that too. And then Hunter Henry, I want to give you some credit on this actually. I know he didn't score 20 points or anything, but he did score 9. And reflecting back a little bit on what we talked about, tight ends, on if you can just find one that's going to score you about 10 points right now, that's probably pretty good. And I thought that was a pretty good call. He really didn't have any big games before that or anything. So 9 points for a tight end right now is pretty good. And solid play, but he's no Travis Kelce.
Yeah, it's true.
Puts us at 2-2 on the year. What do you want to do this week?
Let's go. Let's mix it up a little and go quarterback and tight end again. I don't think we've done that combo yet. Drop my pen.
I think we did do quarterback tight end in episode 2, but that's okay. It's been a minute.
Do we want to do something different then? Let's just do quarterback running back. You want to do that?
Do what?
You want to do quarterback running back?
I think we've done that even more recent, haven't we?
I don't know. They're all starting to run together. All right, quarterback, tight end. Stick with that.
Right, yeah, let's do it. It's all random.
Well, I should probably do this on a new page.
All right, I got mine.
Got mine.
All right, you got a quarterback.
This might shock you a little bit. I'm going Geno.
I went with them too.
No way.
I swear, dude.
Okay. Yeah, so I went Geno and Mandrews.
Yeah, I went with Geno as well. I went with Geno and Kelce.
Okay. So you got Kelce, I got Andrews. Love
Mm-hmm.
that. So now we need to go back.
I actually crossed out Andrews, which is kind of funny, and put Kelce.
That's funny.
So we need quarterbacks, huh?
Yep.
What if I just pick Geno again?
All right. I'll take Geno if you want.
All right, who you gonna take? I wrote mine down.
I purposely didn't. I was trying to get Geno.
Can we do that even?
I don't know. If he's not qualified, I have my backup.
I'll tell you what. You can keep Geno.
All right.
I'll take Josh Allen.
All right. I think
that's who I wrote.
That's where I would have went had I. Yeah.
That's who I wrote down, and that neither one of us would have been able to take him at that point either. So.
Yeah. And it feels so weird wanting to play Geno Smith.
Dude, tell me about it. I'm literally starting him in an 8-man fantasy football league right now. On a decent squad. All right, so Geno and Mark Andrews versus Josh Allen and Travis Kelce. If I would have told you that 2 years ago, everybody would have been like, obviously, I'll take Logan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not 2 years ago. Okay, so yeah, like we said, 2-2 on the year for the pick 2. To our predictions, Sean, last week you went 2-2. I again went 1-3. That does not bode well for me. Put me at 5-11, taking you to 9-7 on the year for the predictions. So last week, I'm trying to think of the big one. You had taken Damon. I had taken Drake. We both got me right. And Devin said, screw the experts. I'm going to go ahead and just beat Bob. And he beat both of us on that one. And then did we both take JR? Is that true? I think we both took JR.
I think we both took JR, yeah.
Yep. So Mario's saying the same thing. He's about done. He's about done with the negativity on the, hey.
Put some respect on my name.
I don't care how many points I've scored. I'm 4-1. Yeah, put some respect on my name. It's a me, Mario. All right, but going into the week 6 matchups, we got Catalina Wine Mixon versus Wilson. Mario versus Logan. Sean, who you got?
I mean, when I was looking through the matchup earlier, it's one of those ones that's real close. Man, I hate it when it does this. It does it every week. I think this is going to be another really close one for you, but I think you're going to pull out another win. One, Geno's there. You've got Jalen Hurts, like we talked about, who's just running so many touchdowns. Who knows what Jimmy G is going to do? This is probably going to be a really low-scoring game as well. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think ETN's the only thing at question on your squad, but yeah, I think you'll pull out another W.
Yep, I also selected myself on for me versus Mario. I just think that Mario's team, not that they're down, he's got Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams on a bye, and that really helps me.
Right.
A lot. So that was the main reason that I picked that. I do think it's going to be a very close game, though. Probably a lower scoring, like a 130s to 120s sort of game. That might even be wishful thinking, honestly. And then we've got Scary Pits versus Mommy Chasers. That's a new name for Bob. So Sean versus Bob. Who you got?
I'm going with myself. I've lost, I'm 0-1 since not going with myself, so I'm not doing that ever again. I'm superstitious about it, so I'm going with myself. But it is with the assumption that Jonathan Taylor plays. I've got a couple guys who can kind of fill in. It's just not going to be the same. And then if Bob, he's got so many options at wide receiver right now. It's scary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he does. Like you had mentioned this whenever we were just kind of getting ready for the show, but Bob left Amari Cooper on his bench again.
You did.
Like, I mean, he's got good receivers, so it's not like it's a bad sit or anything like that, you know.
But not just that. I mean, he's got Amari Cooper, and he's got Chris Godwin too.
Yeah. So I mean, he's
literally got 5 receivers that could start on any team.
Yeah, it's almost a problem.
You're gonna get somebody wrong.
Yeah, it's a real thing. One of those 3 are gonna be wrong probably. That you can't beat yourself up over. You just got to hope that they all hit their floors and the other 2 pop off. So we didn't want to put Robert down on that.
Or if you're Bob, you combo like 2 of those receivers and go get an upgrade at running back now that James Conner may be out.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, you got rid of 2. You got rid of your problem, which was part of your strength now. It's not like you still have 3 starters every week except the bye week.
Right.
And now you have a big upgrade somewhere else. So he might be giving away more than he's getting.
Don't be afraid to lose those players off your bench.
Yeah, like he'll probably give away more than what he's getting in return, but to me, that's part of roster construction and makes your team better overall.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Then we've got Logan's mom versus Olave Another. It's so hard to say it. I don't know why.
Olave Another.
So, Drake versus Devin. Oh, I'm sorry. I picked Bob in that game. And you versus Bob.
Oh, gotcha.
I think his strength at wide receiver is wide, and I think that his running backs are going to do well this week. Ramondre Stevenson is going to have a good game. The James Conner thing bothers me a little bit, but I did select Bob, kind of mostly too because of the Jonathan Taylor in question too, and Trevor Lawrence. So.
And Trevor Lawrence.
But he's got Zach Wilson, so it's not like a huge upgrade. But I went with Bob there. So now we'll get to Logan's mom versus Olave Another. Drake versus Devin. Who you got?
I think that the matchups this week just lend towards the players a little bit better. I think this will be another high-scoring game, but I've got Devin winning this one.
All right.
But I think it'll be another 150-plus points for each team.
Yep, I do too. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game as well. I did take Drake. I think that his matchups bode well for him this week. I mentioned this earlier. I like Christian McCaffrey against the Rams a lot. And I also mentioned this through text to you guys earlier in this week. I think the Rams should try and go and get Christian McCaffrey. So he should look at this as a little tryout for McVay. Not that he has to try out, but hey, why don't you guys take me home on the plane with you?
Yep.
Kind of thing, or leave me here. I don't know where that game is.
Man, it would be such a good fit in the lift that they need on their team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really would. I think it would be huge for them. And you could send Cam Akers or Darrell Henderson out on that trade.
Yeah.
Or
both.
Yeah, or both. Yep. Yeah, I selected Drake. I think that he did have a problem at quarterback with Tua being out. And, Jared Goff was good. It was just, you didn't want to start. I know he doesn't want to start him right now. Oh, he can't start him anyway. He's on a bye. So he did go and pick up Daniel Jones. I feel like that's a good floor quarterback to pick up right now.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, went with Drake. I think he's got the higher ceiling of the two, but again, into a very high scoring game.
And he's got that. He does have the Arizona stack in that Seattle game. I
noticed that too. Yes, I forgot to mention that. The Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown stack I thought was pretty good for him as well.
Yeah, I will mention that Devin's team would look really good with Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver right here to partner with Josh Allen and just like get rid of Justin Jefferson to my team and Patrick Mahomes to my team, and it would really work out.
I don't know how you're going to get both of them, but I think anybody who's everybody, maybe except for Devin, would consider a Stephon Diggs for Justin Jefferson trade. But
not when you like the Vikings.
Yeah, I think that the biasness ties into that, and it's like, man, they're basically the same kind of guy. I'll just keep him.
Yeah.
But that'd be an interesting swap to do something like that and just try to pair up somebody or somebody else, but I would call collusion. Grilling Dad game of the week. Sean, you want to introduce this one again?
Goodness. Yeah, the Grilling Dad game of the week. Florida Sunshine's going up against the GOATs, JR versus Damon. This is going to be another one of those really high-scoring games.
Mm-hmm.
I think that each of them are going to put up, I mean, right now I know their projections are 125, 130, but they're going to be 140, 150 each. And it's just both teams are just really good. And so we'll see what happens. Like if we were talking about in DFS, Raheem Mostert, just who knows? I mean, they just I don't know. I don't think that they trust one running back and they're just going to spread the ball around too much to have a huge game. But he's going to be solid. And I mean, Raheem the Dream, man, he's good. When you've got a nickname like that, you've got to be good. But yeah, I'm going to go with the GOATs. Just too much firepower all around.
Yep. Okay. You're going with the GOATs. That is also who I have gone with. Is Damon. Agreed. Too much firepower all around. I think
you can't have Matt Stafford in your starting lineup.
He has to change that. That has to get changed. And that, I mean, what's going to happen is he's going to change it and he's going to score 20, but it just, I think it's just got to go. Make him get burnt by him one more time before he burns you and only scores 11 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grilling Dad game of the week, like we said, brought to you by grillingdad.com. If you guys are looking for pretty much anything grill, looking for any kind of recipes, looking for grilling tips, tricks, check out grillingdad.com. So, Grilling Dad game of the week, GOATs versus Florida Sunshines, Damon versus JR. We both picked Damon, again, like we said. You got anything to end that with? Any hot takes for the upcoming week?
Hot takes. I think that the Colts are finally going to actually play well in this game, and I think they're going to look really good on offense. Steers, I mean, they just have to. They have too much talent to not pick it up eventually, and this has got to be the game. Second time against the Jags, you know exactly what to expect.
Yeah.
So I think it'll happen. And if not, then you just got to tank the rest of the way.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. I think this week is as close to a must-win game for the Colts as you can do it.
Yep.
For a week 6 ball game.
Yeah.
But all right, dudes. Thanks for coming. See you guys later.